February 4th, 1899, a single gunshot in the darkness outside Manila changed everything. An American private fired at a Filipino soldier crossing a bridge. Within hours, thousands were dead. Within months, over 200,000 Filipino civilians would perish, and most Americans today have never even heard about it. This wasn't a war. It was the birth of an empire. An empire built on sugar plantations, banana republics, and occupied islands. An empire that controlled more territory than the British at their peak. An empire that America still refuses to call an empire. What you're about to discover will completely change how you see American history, because while you were learning about westward expansion and manifest destiny, they left out the part where America conquered half the Pacific and turned the Caribbean into a corporate playground. This is the story of how America became an empire, and why they never wanted you to know. By 1890, America had a problem. The frontier was closed. Every inch of land from sea to shining sea was claimed. But the economy demanded growth. Factories needed raw materials. Businesses needed new markets. And politicians needed somewhere to put America's growing military power. The solution? Look outward. But they needed an excuse. Something to make imperial conquest look noble. Civilized. American. They called it the white man's burden, the idea that superior races had a duty to civilize inferior ones. It was racism dressed up as charity, and it gave America permission to do what European powers had been doing for centuries: build an empire. Then came 1898, the year everything changed. The USS Maine exploded in Havana Harbor on February 15th. 266 Americans died. Spain was blamed. "Remember the Maine" became the rallying cry. War hysteria swept the nation. But here's what they don't teach you. Investigators later found the explosion was likely an accident, a coal fire in the ship's bunker. But by then, it didn't matter. America wanted war, and not because of Cuba. The Spanish-American War lasted just 10 weeks. American newspapers called it a splendid little war. 10 weeks. And when it ended, America owned an empire. The Treaty of Paris in December 1898 handed America the keys to the world. Spain surrendered Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines, over 7,000 islands spanning the Pacific. They paid Spain $20 million. $20 million for millions of people who never asked to be American. Cuba became independent in name only. The Platt Amendment gave America the right to intervene whenever they wanted. They could veto treaties, control Cuba's foreign policy, and maintain a permanent military base. That base? Guantanamo Bay. Still there today. But the Philippines, that's where things got dark. Filipinos had been fighting Spain for independence for years. When America arrived, they thought they had allies. They were wrong. America didn't come to liberate. They came to conquer. Emilio Aguinaldo led the Filipino resistance. He'd been promised independence. Instead, America declared the Philippines American property. So the Filipinos fought back. What happened next was genocide. American soldiers burned entire villages. They implemented concentration camps. Reconcentration zones, they called them. They tortured prisoners using the water cure, forcing water down throats until stomachs burst. One general ordered his troops to kill everyone over the age of 10. The official death toll? 20,000 Filipino soldiers and 200,000 civilians. The real number? Probably closer to 1 million when you count famine and disease caused by the war. And here's the twisted part. While this was happening, America was teaching Filipino children English in American-style schools, civilizing them. That's what they called it. The war officially ended in 1902. But resistance continued for years. America had its first overseas colony, and they were just getting started. While blood was being spilled in the Philippines, America quietly annexed Hawaii. No war necessary. Just American businessmen staging a coup against Queen Liliuokalani in 1893, then waiting 5 years until the government was ready to make it official. But the real empire was being built closer to home, in America's backyard, Central America, and the Caribbean. This is where it gets complicated, because these weren't traditional colonial wars. America didn't want colonies. They wanted control. They wanted governments that would protect American business interests. And they wanted to make sure Europe stayed out. Enter Theodore Roosevelt. In 1904, Roosevelt announced the Roosevelt Corollary to the Monroe Doctrine. Essentially, the Western Hemisphere belongs to America. If any country in Latin America or the Caribbean gets unruly, America has the right to intervene, to occupy, to control, and they did, again, and again, and again. First stop, Panama. Colombia controlled the land where America wanted to build a canal. When Colombia refused American terms, Roosevelt orchestrated a revolution, literally. He sent warships to support Panamanian rebels, recognized their independence within hours, and immediately secured canal rights. The Panama Canal opened in 1914. It cut shipping time from Atlantic to Pacific by months, and it gave America total military and economic control of the hemisphere. But here's where the story gets really messy, because it wasn't just about military strategy, it was about fruit. You need to understand, the United Fruit Company essentially owned Central America. They controlled railways, shipping, telegraph lines, and millions of acres of farmland across Guatemala, Honduras, Costa Rica, Colombia, and beyond. They paid almost nothing in taxes. They chose presidents. They wrote laws. They were the government. And when local populations resisted, when they demanded fair wages or tried to unionize or elected leaders who wanted to redistribute land, United Fruit called Washington, and Washington sent the Marines. Nicaragua, 1909 to 1933. Multiple occupations. America overthrew governments, installed puppet presidents, and fought a guerrilla war against Augusto Sandino, who refused to accept American occupation. Haiti, 1915 to 1934. 19 years of military occupation. American forces rewrote Haiti's constitution to allow foreign land ownership, imposed forced labor, and killed thousands of resistors. Racism was explicit. American officials called Haitians savages who needed civilizing. Dominican Republic, 1916 to 1924. 8 years of military government. Americans took direct control of the treasury, military, and police. Honduras, 1903 to 1925. 7 separate military interventions to protect American banana companies. Mexico, 1914 and 1916. Multiple incursions, including General Pershing's expedition chasing Pancho Villa. This was the pattern. American companies moved in, extracted wealth, paid local dictators to keep populations under control. When that failed, Marines arrived. They'd fight, occupy, install a new government friendly to American interests, then leave. Until it happened again. They called them the Banana Wars, like it was quaint, charming, like people weren't dying to protect corporate profit margins. And here's the thing. Sometimes American military leaders didn't even want to be there. They saw what was really happening, that they were being used as enforcers for private companies, not protecting American security. Major General Smedley Butler, who led many of these interventions, later wrote, "I was a racketeer for capitalism. I helped make Haiti and Cuba a decent place for the National City Bank to collect revenues. I helped purify Nicaragua for the international banking house of Brown Brothers. I brought light to the Dominican Republic for American sugar interests." He called it what it was, a racket. But focus on the numbers, the real numbers. Thousands dead in Nicaragua. Thousands dead in Haiti. Thousands dead in the Dominican Republic. Communities destroyed. Economies restructured to serve American interests. Generations of political instability caused by American intervention. And racism permeated everything. American soldiers openly called locals racial slurs. Military reports described populations as inferior, uncivilized, incapable of self-governance. The same racist ideology that justified Philippine conquest justified occupation across Latin America and the Caribbean. Black American soldiers faced this contradiction directly. They were sent to occupy Haiti, a nation founded by formerly enslaved people, while facing segregation and discrimination at home. Some defected. Many questioned why they were fighting to suppress people who looked like them. The occupations also created long-term instability. When America installed puppet governments and trained local militaries, they created the foundations for decades of dictatorships. The Somoza dynasty in Nicaragua, the Duvalier dynasty in Haiti, These regimes brutalized their own people for decades, all with American training and support. By the 1930s, the backlash was too strong to ignore. Latin America hated the United States. The cost of maintaining these occupations outweighed the benefits. And America had bigger problems at home: the Great Depression. In 1934, President Franklin Roosevelt announced the Good Neighbor policy. No more military interventions. No more occupations. America would respect Latin American sovereignty. Of course, it was never quite that simple. America just changed tactics. Instead of sending Marines, they sent CIA agents. Instead of direct occupation, they orchestrated coups. But that's a different story. So here's what they don't want you to understand. America built an empire. Not with colonies. They learned from Britain's mistakes. They built an empire of influence, of economic control, of military intervention disguised as peacekeeping. And that empire never really ended. It just evolved. The bases are still there. The economic relationships are still there. The assumption that America has the right to intervene in other countries, still there. This is the foundation of modern America. The empire they built while teaching you about liberty and democracy. Now you know the truth. If this changed how you see American history, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video, subscribe for more hidden history, and drop a comment telling me what part of this story shocked you most. Because the more people who understand how we got here, the more we can have an honest conversation about where we're going. Thanks for watching. And remember, they don't teach you this for a reason.